from closingprints.com on November 30th, 2014 with what I hope will be an insightful look at the markets and possible setups for the week ahead. Obviously, November through April, seasonality continues. We saw tick cumulative give us a possible bear cross showing up on Friday, and we see NYSE entering the 7th week without a signal. Typically we see one around anywhere from 5 to 7 weeks. The indices are trading at all-time highs. SPY, as I pointed out, put in a Harami candle on Monday of the past week after a very large red candle at highs on the previous Friday. So we had an inside day basically with a doji, which technically becomes a Harami by definition. Then we were followed by an outside day, then another inside day, and Friday we closed with an outside day engulfing most of the price action of the previous 5 trading days. So that's pretty significant. Over the last couple of weeks, if you've been watching what we've been doing via our blog posts, we mentioned biotech, then we saw aluminum rotate in, technology and hardware and semis, media broadcasting, and lately airlines. Now, with regard to media and broadcasting, one of the posts that I pointed out over the weekend, we had 10 stocks that we were looking at. 9 of them did very well and continued to perform, and we had 1 dud. So we had a win ratio of 90% using the technique that we describe herein. First, let's take a look at the indices. The comp has outperformed the S&P 500 and the Russell 2000. We pushed outside the upper Bollinger Band. We saw a bit of a reversal candle at highs, and we are currently overbought on slow stow, and NDX A50R, the number of stocks trading above their 50, is in nosebleed territory. We're expecting a move lower in the near future. Note Bollinger Bands prices, we could conceivably move back to the 10-period EMA and still remain bullish, which would be right on top of this volume by price support level. And then we have the 20-period moving average, the center of the Bollinger Bands, as support. And then just below that we have this broadening top. Depending on where you draw your trend line, we could redraw it here last week on the breakout. And we have these areas as support on a pullback, as well as a 382 Fibonacci level from this low in October up to this breakout level high. The S&P 500 daily, this is the Elder Impulse system enabled. We have a blue stick on Friday closing near the lows of the session. At the upper Bollinger Band, we have this extended trend line, broadening top, similar to the comp. But what we really are interested in is the tick cumulative, which is giving us a possible bearish cross to the downside. Note that we typically have anywhere from 6 to 7 weeks between signals. Since the beginning of the year, we had one 10-week period where we really had strength relative to the recent lows and breakout levels. Then we had 2 signals within 5 weeks of each other, and now we're on week 7 starting currently. So we are at an area where we would consider high probability that we will see a downside move short term, perhaps down to a lower support level, and then higher into Christmas and the first quarter of the year. It's not a promise, but that's what we're looking for currently. The Russell 2000 small cap, now keep in mind this is a weekly chart. We pointed this out last Sunday as well. We've been pretty much a one-year topping pattern. Note the last 3 weeks, these topping candles occurring at this descending channel line. If this plays out, slow stow is turning. We're probably going to get a signal if this continues going into the week. So you have to keep in mind the fact that slow stow has already turned, MACD will likely turn. We have 3 weeks of topping candles at highs and a descending channel, so the probabilities are for downside going into the week ahead. Now obviously if you're steadfastly bullish, rather than what I think or what you think, what we need to see is proof. That would come with a breakout above this level, taking out these highs. I don't think that's likely, but if you're bullish, that's what you want to see. You don't want to second guess yourself. Look for proof in a confirmation. Now, adding to our thoughts for lower prices short term on the indices, we see bonds confirming what we're seeing with a consolidation over the last few weeks. And then Bollinger Bands tightened and we had a break to the upside. We figured that might be the case considering everything that we've mentioned thus far in this video. So we are outside the second standard deviation. There's a third standard deviation between the two. And then we have the fourth standard deviation up here, the purple lines. So we're expecting either a flag or a short move sideways to downside. But we do have MACD crossing to the upside. So your 12 and 26 period moving averages, you have the 12 period above the 26. And crossing the signal line, the 9 EMA, giving us a long signal on bonds confirming this week. So if you look at IEF, the 7-10 year looks identical. AGG, the Barclays Aggregate Bond Fund, which is basically all bonds that are available out there, corporate, commercial, municipal, pass-through securities, and so on. This is an aggregate, and it gives you the same look, very bullish, with a MACD cross as well. So bonds are confirming the thoughts that we'll see short-term a pullback in the indices over the next week or so. Okay, so let's shift gears for a moment and take a look at sector performance. 3 of the top 4 are defensive sectors, and if we drill down further and take a look at stock charts, RRG, relative rotation graphs, go to sectors and animate this, we can see what sectors are doing over the last year. This will stop and we'll readjust this to 4 weeks, and then we can scrub this backwards and forwards. You can see XLE, middle bottom of your screen, getting weaker and weaker. Then we had a short turn up. We thought that energy would outperform, and then last week we got clobbered at the end of the week. But what I want you to focus on is the leading sectors up here. As they improve in this quadrant, going to leading, we were looking at these sectors for possible trades, the best of breed within these sectors. Okay, you can see the 4 that are still leading, and we have XLI improving. We'll take a look at that as well. So if we go through our sectors and we look at these from a relative strength standpoint, remember last week we talked about this volume by price bar where gold would possibly see resistance. Rather than thinking what might happen, we wanted to see proof, and we did see a rejection at that level as well as the 50 period moving average, which was descending. So we did have a sell signal there. Now note that gold is moving lower. We'll look for a buy opportunity down here, if possible a double bottom, this trend line, and slow stow getting oversold. So we want to see slow stow oversold, MACD above its signal line, and prices above the 10 EMA. So we only have one at the current time. So let's take a look at some of the other sectors. IYR, real estate shares, we looked at these early in the week, so we had a nice trade here out of this breakout, but now we're getting overbought and we could conceivably see a move to the downside. So we want to see proof now on what we look at in the real estate shares. Transports, IYT. Note that we had a gap up, black candle, closed lower on the week. Slow Stow is giving us a sell signal, or at least a caution signal. We're going to watch MACD now and what prices do at the 10 EMA. Semis, hardware and semis, again, this was a week ago or further out. We had some nice trades here on this breakout. Now we're overbought on Slow Stow, and MACD's continue to point higher. This looks pretty strong still, but we're outside the upper Bollinger Band, so I'd look for a reversal short term, possibly back down to maybe a flag or the 10 period, which is catching up to prices very quickly. XBI, Biotechs, had a little reversal candle outside the upper Bollinger Band. Slow Stow is overbought, and looks like it's a caution or sell signal on the sector. We'll watch and see what happens. Builders, XHB, nice little flag here. 10 period is catching up. This is possibly a sector that we want to look at in the very near future. Note Slow Stow is moving lower. Maybe we can get oversold here on Slow Stow. MACD stay above its signal line, and we have a nice trade here. So make a note of XHB. XLB Materials got clobbered on Friday. Note Slow Stow is getting oversold very quickly. MACD is going to give us a sell signal as well. Possibly a convergence here with a 50 period and 200 period as an area to pick up possible shares in the days ahead. XLE, we know we got clobbered here. We have a support zone at the bottom of this candle on the October 15th low, and the closing on these candles here, as well as this volume by price bar. Slow Stow is already oversold and could turn back up and give us a buy signal. So look for support here. Obviously XLE is not going to go to zero. We'll look for a buy opportunity, a better edge using this technique. XLF looking pretty decent. We had a little doji outside upper Bollinger Band, moved back. We had a little breakout last week. We saw some select names in the financial sector, particularly REITs. So watch what Slow Stow does during the week, as well as MACD. XLI, remember we looked at that. Sitting right on top of the 10 period. If you zoom into this, you can see that it looked like there were some buyers here at this trend line, and Slow Stow is turning lower. So we'll look for a possible edge in the industrials going into the week as well. And the remaining sectors, XLK looking decent. Remember semis look good as well. Comp was outperforming. We are in the overbought area, but this could stay up here in overbought territory. We have support at the 10 period EMA, which is quickly accelerating to get under price. XLP, I really think the defensive sectors are going to do well this week, but we'll have to see confirmation and proof. Nice big candle on Friday, and note Slow Stow is in a better location than most of the other sectors. XLU looks about the best. We had this little triangle pattern breaking out of that on Friday. Slow Stow looks really the best of all of the sectors right now, turning back up. Possible area to look for an edge in industry groups within XLU. XLV outside the upper Bollinger Band. We had a little bit of a reversal candle on Friday, and we are overbought. So we'll look for that sector to give us some hints to setups in the near future. XLY overbought, MACD's extended, and so is price above the 10 period EMA. Okay, so going to stock charts, if you go down here underneath the main graph here and click on summary, sort this by percent change, you can see what we look at every week. Aside from the RRG, relative rotation graphs, we'll look at the sectors that are outperforming, that are the strongest. Consumer staples looks the best. We have a group here. These aren't unfamiliar to most traders. If we click on the bar on the left, that'll give you a look at the industry group performance. You can see the distillers look really well. We had a breakout on Friday. If we look at charts like Molson Coors, of course, has yet to break out. We have this quadruple top. The number of times we bang up against this obviously makes it a little easier for a breakout. Note if we do break out, we have very little supply up here. But Slow Stow is overbought, so this could embed. MACD could turn up, so I'd be watching Molson Coors along with Constellation Brands, of course, which had a breakout, double top, nice little flag. Bollinger Bands were tight. This will likely continue to move higher. Note Slow Stow, MACD getting back above its signal line, and prices above the 10 EMA. Obviously, we wouldn't want to buy here, but if we have a little pullback into this candle, pullback to breakout, that would be a nice entry. Diageo, another distiller. Note the huge gap up. Obviously, you'd wait on this one. Possibly this area here, volume by price support level, the 200 EMA, the 200 moving average. Slow Stow's moving sideways, MACD above its signal line. This is a fairly thin traded name, but the distillers in general look fairly good. So let's take a look at some of the other sectors. Let's take a look at personal products. Kimberly-Clark had a nice flag here and a breakout. Slow Stow's overbought. Again, this could embed like it did in October. Okay, if defensive sectors continue to perform. Nice little flag breakout, looks great. USNA, another name. Actually, it's the number one name in the group. If you go to investors.com, okay, Investors Business Daily, type in the symbol and get a quote, you can get an idea of what the number one stock in the group is. Kimberly is number 5. If we look at Kimberly, numbers look pretty decent. EPS change 12%, 14% profit margin, PEs at 19. If we look at USNA, this is a process we go through every time we look at some stocks. So it just helps you hone in on the better setups that are out there. Note the difference in EPS change over the last quarter and a 3-year change on USNA. The profit margin and the PE ratio is slightly higher than the forward PE on the S&P 500, which I believe is at around 18 on the S&P, I believe. That's from memory. So looking at some other names in the group, Colgate-Palmolive. Nice little breakout here. Slow Stow moving higher. So you can start to see a pattern here on stocks in the groups and how they perform. Now, here's one I just want to point out. Avon Products, the company's been around since 1886. We've been in this distribution range since earlier in the year. We look to be forming a bottom here. I don't want to jump the gun, but if we do bottom here, Slow Stow is meandering around the 50 level. MACD is starting to move higher. If we look at the 1226 MACD, all this is doing is, this is how MACD is calculated using the 12 period EMA, the 26 period EMA. When prices are below the moving averages, obviously you're bearish, you trade shorts. It's pretty much a box trade setup. When the shorter term EMA gets back above the longer term EMA, you'll get a MACD cross of the signal line, which is just a 9 period average of the two lines, the 12 and the 26. And we have a crossover to the upside, we'll look for a long. So we want to watch the 12 period here for a crossover, or just watch your MACD for a signal. Now obviously we saw that XLU was outperforming all of the sectors. We noted the triangle pattern. We look like we're more bullish. Slow Stow is turning. MACD is turning as well. We'll look at some setups here. Note there's very little overhead supply. After a pullback on XLU during November, came down to the 20 period, is holding that level. as well as the 10-period EMA. So let's take a look at some names in the group. We'll drill down into the sector. Conventional electricity, I know off the top of my head, was looking pretty good. We had some names here. We're going to rank by percent change. Entergy. Note this nice sideways pattern. Bollinger Bands are tightening. The volume by price bars are tapering off here, and slow stow is turning from oversold. MACD can get back above its signal line, it looks like. Let's look at the MACD 1226. You can see we're in a bullish trend. Came down, we got buyers that can step back in, push prices back above a bullish looking chart here with the 1226 MACD settings. Okay, so if we get a MACD cross of the signal line, it's just telling you that we have a bullish trend resuming. Hawaiian Electric, saw this one last week, breakout of this 28.17 level. Note where we closed, 28.19, just above the breakout level. Slow stow's turning back up, MACD's above its signal line. Maybe we get a flag here, maybe we continue, maybe we get a couple of points out of this name on Monday, Tuesday. Northeast Utilities. Note the bullishness of all these charts. So if you start to look at your setups this way, when you run a Bollinger Band scan, or we run a Bollinger Band scan, this is the way we look at our charts. Edison, I know this one looked pretty good as well. Note the pattern here. Bollinger Bands are starting to expand. Prices are at the upper Bollinger Band at a breakout level. Very little overhead supply. Slow stow's turning up. MACD is turning as well. If we look at the MACD 1226, look how bullish that looks. Okay, so you're starting to see the pattern of how we look at stocks. Look at the best sector performers. Look at the number one name in the industry group via IBD, investors.com. We can also sort these by Scooter Score, which is the stock chart's technical rank. Let's look at Pinnacle West. All of these charts look really good. Okay. Now you could pause this and look at the names in the group. I would look at the top 25, at least above the Scooter of 70 for good setups going into the weeks ahead. Empire District, got a little reversal candle here, but this one possibly could move higher with the group as a whole. Note the red volume here. It's a thin trade, so we'd probably pass on this one, but you're starting to see the way we filter these. TECO Energy attempted a breakout. Nice $20 stock. Looks pretty good. Note the green volume here. If we turn this off, Legends, and then redisplay this, you can see that this is all buying volume up here. Okay, so that's another way to look at volume by price. This looks like this is going to move higher, in my opinion. So we want to see confirmation of a breakout above the 1994 level, which we saw an attempt on Friday. Okay, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. For you new traders, be sure to check out these top 5 or 6 videos, which will give you a better edge on understanding the markets, taking setups, and where to position yourself for the highest risk reward on your trade. In addition, if you don't subscribe to the blog, this is a spam-free site. Enter your email address in here and you can get these delivered to your email every day. You'll note my tweets are here, the watch list for the week or the day. You can just scroll down through these, keeping track of the trades that we're looking at, whether they're high type flags or Bollinger Band setups. It's also a place for me to document the trades and thoughts going into the weeks. So I hope this helps. Take care. We'll talk to you on the stream on Monday.